What's up, AfterBuzzers? You are watching the Veep After Show Season 5, Episode 6, Seagate. Tonight, we will find out exactly what that C word is.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
What's up, everybody? Happy Memorial Day weekend. Thank you for joining us for the Veep After Show. Another hilarious episode, of course.
Yes.
I thought they were going to go like Memorial Day-ish with it, but I guess that's kind of hard to plan.
True, since it was just Thanksgiving last week.
Oh, yeah. Thanksgiving. Well, you know, they do some big-time jobs every now and then, I guess. Y'all can find me on Twitter and Instagram at April Whisenhant. As always, you can find us everywhere at AfterBuzz TV. Be sure to like, comment, download. We want to know what you have to say about the episode, what your favorite lines were as well. What about you?
You can find me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie.
All right, then. So this episode was about it had like two main parts. So we'll start actually with probably my favorite part of the episode, the Jonah stuff.
Oh, man.
So Jonah's running for Congress in New Hampshire under like the guise of he's only going to be it for one term, and then what's-his-face's nephew is going to come in.
Yes.
I should probably not say what's-his-face, but you know what I'm talking about. And his part starts off with this amazing campaign video where he's like in his flannel and his puffy vest, and he's, you know, chopping wood, which is like the most pathetic attempt to chop wood I've ever seen. It was like one of those blocks that just automatically splits.
And so awkwardly wiping his brow afterwards, like, oh, yes.
I'm sweating. And then he's like running through a playground with a child and does the whole like, I'm Jonah Ryan and I approve this message.
But holding the axe, which just seems so weird to me. It's like, you want to be holding the axe when you're saying that message? You look like a killer.
It reminds me of this man which I will not that he would, you know,
He's
care,
watching right now.
But this man that ran for governor of Alabama, he did not even make it like to the even slightly final rounds. It was like 2 months of him running. He had a video, or his like first commercial that he came out with, he was holding a gun, and he was talking about like how, you know, this is America, we speak English, learn it. And I was like, oh dear heavens. And you think you're gonna get elected for governor? And he like jumped off his horse and he's like and shoots the gun in the video. I'm just like, who controls these people?
Man, but what I loved would to be in the editing room as they're putting that together, and he's just watching it going, yeah, I did it.
He's
Nailed
like, it's
it.
so good. Yeah. I look good.
See, I got off, and I cocked the gun, and I shot it. That's awesome.
He just looks so ridiculously goofy because they're in a viewing room, a group of people.
Yeah, focus group.
A focus group. And I don't know why I did not say that immediately, but a focus group, they're watching his video, and this lady is like, okay, so what did you like about it, or what did you not like? And they're like, he looks goofy. His head is too big for his body, and sometimes his body is too big for his head, and everybody hates it.
Have you ever done like a focus group?
I haven't, but I've always wanted to, because I hear you get paid for those.
You do get paid for them, and then but it's also to be on the other side and watching these people, where they will just pick apart just the tiniest things. I mean, deservedly so in this instance, but boy, that can be irritating. And you see Jonah do what I think everybody would want to do is if they're having something of theirs being focus grouped, you want to go in and yell at these people.
And he has no self-control. He just busts in, and he's like, I wrote it down what he said. I didn't write down the whole thing, but something about he walks out and he's like, you Pepperidge Farm mother effers, you don't know what you're talking about. Because, you know, it's New Hampshire. It's a small town in New Hampshire where they're doing this focus group. They're not the hustle and bustle type people that he's used to in D.C., but also, I mean, his commercial was terrible, so they had every right to hate it.
Well, because it's like the great of the focus group is that they will pick like the smallest things to just pick apart, like the wood. But the one guy says like that wood wouldn't burn like wood burn right. Like that's please don't focus on that. Yes.
Right. Focus on him. But they didn't like him. They did like the little boy that he was on the playground with.
They didn't like him being chased by him. Run away from him.
That's what that man said. He's like, I like that, but I wanted him to run away from him or whatever. But Jonah, so he has this freak out, and they let Selina and everybody in DC know, and they say he needs a new campaign manager because clearly, like, this is not good. He's had multiple freakouts at this point. And so Ben says that they've offered the job to Dan, but that he said no. But then later, Amy approaches him and she's like, why would you say no to the Jonah job? That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was interesting because it was such a fast thing from with Tom, working for Tom and being his Gary, so to speak.
Why is he not his Gary anymore?
Yeah, it seems so weird to kind of, because it felt like he started. I thought the hook for the season was he was noticing something going on with Tom, being kind of suspicious and trying to get everybody else to believe that. But I guess they just did that for an episode and then they just transitioned him.
Yeah. Because I guess essentially he just wasn't doing anything. Or maybe he was, and they're just like, oh, okay, he'd be better in this kind of thing. Which I liked him and Jonah tonight.
True. Well, there's a reason they definitely have to work together.
Exactly. So we find out that they're using this Candy Caruso again, which is the same person that they interviewed for Amy's job whenever she didn't know if she wanted to come back as Selina's campaign manager. And it's like the exact same thing happens because Amy tells Dan, like, you better hurry. They're interviewing people right now. He immediately runs to where Ben's interviewing the girl, and it's her.
Yes, and I do like that even she knows what's going on because as they step out of the room, she starts getting her purse and getting ready to go and stuff, and it's like she's already heading towards the door when Ben pops back in.
The position has been filled. Dan takes it and is off to Little New Hampshire. I love how when he gets there, though, Jonah's like, what are you doing? Or, oh, so you're going to interview to be my campaign manager. What are your skills? And Dan just, like, rips him a new one.
I love their relationship because it's anytime somebody gets like a leg up on the other one, they just rub it in their faces.
Yeah.
There's no humility at all. It's just like, all right, here you're a piece of crap and here's why and I'm in charge. Now just suck it up and do what I say.
And then there's little Richard over there in the corner who's like, I'm the director of communications. I should have been told about this. And he's like, director of communications, your silence like it's John H. for which it really did. I didn't even notice it. But so pretty important job as the director of communications, I guess. And he even like takes Jonah's office. He's like, this is my office, and Jonah just kind of deals with it.
I mean, and Amy does have a good point for why he should do it because I mean, it's a win-win situation for him.
Exactly.
I mean, if Jonah loses, who cares?
It's Jonah's fault because he's crazy.
Yes, but if he wins, that looks great on Dan because he got this really insane man elected.
Or as he called a lot worse stuff than that.
Yes.
But yes, basically pretty much insane. So he's running against the incumbent's wife because the incumbent died. Her name is Judy Sherman. They consistently just call her the widow.
Yes.
So but that's what we'll call her. And we find out that, oh my gosh, I'm going to blank on his name. I had to ask you during the episode. That Bill O'Brien has hired Bill to be the widow's campaign manager.
Yes. He got out of prison. His lawyer was able to get that all taken care of.
A technicality. That's why I was like, how are we seeing you right now? I thought he was going to be one of those characters that's just like one and done kind of thing. Well, obviously he was on there for more than one episode, but you know what I mean.
Well, I guess because it couldn't be that smooth sailing for Dan. You knew you had to throw in some obstacle. I mean, already working with Jonah was bad enough, but you figured he could whip Jonah into shape to maybe have a shot. But then all of a sudden you throw Bill in, and you're like, okay, this is not going to be as easy as you think.
Exactly. And he walks in on a thing where Jonah is like at. I don't know what he was doing, but he was at some kind of place meeting people.
Oh yeah, schmoozing like at a diner or something.
Right, and because he's like, hey, take a picture of me with this guy's mustache.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just so Jonah, like he can't control himself. And Dan has kind of fixed him up, and they gave him these glasses that he thinks look crazy, but everyone else says they make him look smarter. And they kind of did, I guess, in a weird way. But he had like the Dan haircut and everything. Oh
yeah, man. He looked put together for sure. But I mean, personality. You let Jonah talk long enough, and he's
not good. Yeah. Well, clearly in that instance, or where they were at the diner, or wherever it was, something goes awry while Bill and Dan are talking, and then he freaks out and he's like, "We gotta go.
Because he's what, fructose intolerant?
Something like that.
Yes, fructose intolerant, guys.
Only he is. I didn't know that. I kind of want to Google it and see if that's a real thing, actually. I don't know. So they have their first kind of, it's not a debate, it's more like a speech, I guess, or it is a speech. And right before this speech happens, this kind of ties into the other story, but Ben tells Selina, she needs to like let off some stress or whatever because she's having to make this decision about which bank to bail out. And he's like, how about you call Jonah and Dan and kind of like rip them a new one? And that's exactly what she does. And she tells them how terrible the job that they've been doing. and just I wrote down some of the stuff she said because it was freaking hilarious. She called Jonah. She's like, you're the world's tallest pile of garbage, or something like that, which I thought was hilarious. But so this kind of like fires them up, and they have this moment that I was surprised by, because Jonah says to Dan, he's like, don't let her talk to you like that. You're doing a good job. You thought of these glasses. These do make me look smart.
Yeah.
And Dan like kind of grins, and he's like, go F yourself.
Yeah. What I like, though, is that Selina, without having anything like specific that they've done wrong, still just has enough stuff cataloged, backlogged about them that she can just tear into them just indiscriminately.
And you can tell she enjoyed it. She's just like grinning while she's yelling at them. Which I guess, if you need to, even when Ben approached her about it, she's like, ooh, yeah, I do like that idea. That's a good idea.
And I also like Jonah's uncle, where he tries to give Jonah a great joke to open up his little speech with.
What was it?
About Jonah having cancer, and they removed
the governor.
The governor had his ability to have sex with the babysitter removed.
Oh, yeah. He's like, trust me, I know New Hampshire. That joke is going to go off great. So when Jonah finally goes up, he tells like his own version of that, and the only person laughing, obviously, is his uncle.
Oh, yeah.
What can you do? But while they're like kind of having this speech, the widow is up there making her, speech, and they kind of like cut her off, but she says something about, when my husband asked me on my deathbed, I assumed to like run for Congress or to take his place. It's like, how are you going to beat that? This little lady. And she was Jonah's, second grade teacher or something like that?
Yes.
She's like, I still remember the macaroni portrait you made of your mom. And he thought that was a dig.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking about that macaroni. Oh.
Why'd she bring that up? But so Jonah walks out kind of with zero applause, really, and Bill says that he's hired some hecklers to bother him or whatever, and he starts taking the stance, or because someone in the audience is like, you worked with that president and helped her drive the economy into the ground, and he's like, she did that herself. And then he starts to take the stance of against Selina, and people begin to, rally behind him. By the end of his speech, everyone's like cheering and clapping, like screaming for him. So I wonder how that's going to end up turning out, because the whole reason they want him to run and to win is because they need that state for Selina.
True, and like we were talking last week, having him win is probably the worst case, because he's not going to give that up after a year.
Exactly.
So, I feel like he's got to win, and I feel like him criticizing Selina is the perfect way to really galvanize the voting bloc in New Hampshire.
But once he wins, or let's say, he gets to the end, he wins, and then he gives Selina a positive vote, aren't the people going to freak out? Because his whole platform is basically going to be going against her?
True, but then I could also see him, Selina, being president, and then a big vote coming up in Congress, and they need Jonah's vote, and he's going to just be really difficult to work with.
Oh, I'm sure, because he'll know. He's going to ask for a lot of stuff.
Yes.
He knows, the power that his vote holds. But that's Jonah. He's going to make everything as difficult as possible.
Yeah. I guess you can get impeached if you're a congressman, right? Yeah. So
I'm sure.
Yeah. So I feel like his term is going to only end in ruin.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Yeah, we know that going.
Or maybe he'll end up being the president somehow. Who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know. You never know with him.
That'd be great.
Crazier things have happened. But my favorite thing was his campaign commercial. It was amazing.
Oh, my goodness. That was just so good.
So people could learn from that. The flannel and everything. They could, I tell you.
Holding an axe.
Yeah. So the kind of biggest part with Selina this whole episode is that they need to bail out a couple of banks, or they need to bail out more than that, but they can only afford two.
Yeah, but three banks to bail out, but they can only afford two.
Okay, gotcha. So Mike is, of course, telling the press we're not bailing out any of these banks. Now, I forget how he worded it, but something about...
It was a capital infusion.
Yes, a capital infusion to certain banks.
Yes.
And the reporter's like, you just defined bailout.
Yeah.
But, all right. And they have to choose between, I forget the name of the third one, or... Anyway, they have to choose between these three banks, and she chooses one that's the obvious, okay, absolutely, and then there are these other two, one of them being Charlie's bank. Charlie, her boyfriend. And so the more economic, or the better decision for the economy is to pick Charlie's bank. But then everyone's freaking out because they think that her numbers are going to drop way down with choosing her boyfriend's bank.
Yeah, I feel like, as they say, nobody understands the economy, and everybody's
Right.
just going to assume that she did it just because she's having sex with this guy, and
Right.
that's why she bailed it out.
Yeah. And she's having, having trouble deciding throughout the whole episode. Tom is there, the economy czar, and he tells her that bailing out Charlie's bank is the right move. But then they even do like this polling, and where apparently it was like 4.3% of people were positive about her choosing that bank, and apparently like saying Hanukkah in some country is more popular than her choosing Charlie's bank and everything. But they have this little, lovely little dinner where he says, nothing will affect you and I. That stuff doesn't matter. Let's not talk shop.
Yeah, and I feel like that's going to be the most difficult thing of being in any sort of public office when you need. I mean, you have to do a decision that I guess can somewhat benefit you, but it's actually for the greater good, and yet nobody can see that. All they can see is just for like the one like perhaps selfish reason you're doing this act.
Exactly. That's basically what being the president's all about,
I guess
right?
so, yeah. Oh yeah.
Of course. And meanwhile, all this is happening. This article comes out that says that a high-end West Wing staffer has called Selina the C word.
The C word, yes.
Probably my favorite line of the episode is when they're all in their little. She tells Amy to find out who has called her this. So of course we all know the C word. When someone says that, that's see you next Tuesday. That's like that's the worst. What other C word is there? Well, Gary, they're all asking him, like they all walk into a room. They're like, oh, it was me. It was me. Of course it was me. And Gary walks in. He's the last one. He's like, so I guess you know that it was me. And they're like, Gary, what? And he says, he was like, I was so mad about her not wearing sunscreen that I was like, what are you thinking, you old crow? And everyone's like, Gary, that's not it. He's like, what? His mannerisms, they're just my favorite. He's so funny. But so they fire 3 people because like somebody in communications, and then 2 other people because they're like, how could this article even get out?
Yeah, and they're trying to. The same report is trying to turn it into Seagate.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a gate. It's a gate now.
He even like approaches Amy at the grocery store, and he's like, "So are these 3 people being fired? That has to do with Seagate?" He's like, "You don't want to be the face behind Seagate, although you do have the perfect face for it."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Who are you, Leon? Are you
Yes.
kidding me?" He's harsh. But I love the meeting between Amy and Selina, where she calls her into her office freaking late at night. She's like in her robe and everything.
Yes, after hooking up with Charlie.
Oh, exactly.
I got to be wheels up by 9:30.
Oh, yeah.
What Jeremy is that really gets me going.
I guess that would be too. Who knows? I don't know. She calls her in there and she's like, have you ever been called a C word before? She's like, and Amy's like, yes, many times. She's like, well, I guess this is the first and only time for me. And Amy's like, oh my. Because at this point we know, well, I mean, we obviously knew it already anyway, that every staffer has called her that.
Yes.
And the whole Seagate thing kind of ends with Selina asking Amy, so was it everybody? And she's like, yes. Oh, okay, go away. you gotta know that, they're your employees. Employees may call their bosses not so nice names sometimes.
Absolutely. And especially at no more high profile. I'm sure, sadly enough, President Obama has had many people call him something.
But you know what? We haven't heard about it, though.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. I'm sure.
You don't put up with that.
Nah.
Oh my gosh, imagine if Hillary Clinton, I feel like if something like that happened with Hillary Clinton, that person would be like slayed.
Yeah.
She would, super tough. Anyway, random tangent right there. But so with the whole bailing out the banks, obviously going back and forth the entire episode, she even consults Karen on it.
Yes. It's like, because Ben's so freaked out that he gets Kenny. He's like, she's shopping opinions right now. Just want to talk to anybody and everybody who can give her some insight.
And then someone, I think it was Catherine, maybe, because Catherine's bothering her the entire episode to talk to her about something very important. And Sue's like, no one can go in there. She's in a meeting, no one can interrupt. And you see like her and Karen cheersing, and Karen's like, no, definitely bailing out Charlie is the right thing, but it could also be career ending.
Yeah.
Of course, just not making a choice as usual.
Yeah, but what if you had a gun to your head? But what if that gun had no bullets? That's like, oh, okay.
I don't know where she comes out or where the writers come up with this stuff for her to say, because I would never think to say that, but it's hilarious. But then, Selina's used to that. She walks out and she's like, well, that was worth nothing. But she kind of lands on saying she's going to bail out Charlie's banks because she walks in. It seems very serious. She's like, that's what's better for the economy. I don't care about this other stuff. That's what's right. And then she walks out and Gary and her have a little moment where he says to her, he's like, I think that's the right decision. What's more important, like someone that you care about and that you wake up to and yada, yada, yada. And I guess that kind of like clicks something in her mind and she picks the other bank to bail out. So Charlie's is the one that's kind of left in the dust.
Poor Gary. I mean, it's like, his reassurances are just like the thing like, nope, I got it. If you like it, Gary, this is clearly the wrong decision. Yes.
Exactly. And they find out when they're shopping in the bookstore and they have this like, it's just crazy, I'm sure, how much the president has to deal with this kind of stuff. Like, she's just shopping in a bookstore, and reporters are there. They're like, what are you getting Charlie for Christmas?
And to make it so, like, racially diverse, I would think that I'm buying a book of favorite poems.
By my favorite African-American poet, yes. Wanda Coleman.
Yeah, and getting a graphic novel with an Asian female protagonist.
I'm like, what is that, Selena? I wonder. And then she's like, Happy Holidays, because she almost says it, which is crazy. That like, you could say like Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. People are too PC now.
But I do like Charlie's like, don't buy me a book. I already have a book.
Yeah, that one book that I have is plenty. And he finds out. I forget who he gets a text from. Maybe Kent.
It was Tom calling him.
Tom calling him. So about the bank and everything, and Selena's like, oh, you weren't supposed to get that yet. And he just like goes ballistic because she didn't bail out his bank. Like, because obviously now that means he's bankrupt, and I mean that's really bad for him. And he said that wouldn't affect their relationship, but obviously it does because he storms out and leaves.
Well, I think you'll say anything if you know, like, hey, there's sex coming, so I will say anything. Oh, it doesn't matter, everything's cool. But then when it does really come, you're like, oh, I can't believe you.
Well, also you want to seem like that supportive person, because if you're supportive, someone's more likely to choose you. Like, oh, okay, it won't matter. But I mean, like, if he was going to sit there and be like, you pick my bank or else.
That's true, yeah.
She's not going to pick his bank. She's not going to be, like, blackmailed. So, I don't know. She doesn't pick his bank. He's very mad. And even when she goes back to the Oval Office, she asks Sue if he's called, and of course he hasn't.
I guess we'll say that for predictions, what we think may happen with them.
Yeah. But then, like, you see that the Dow Jones went up by, like, 12.6%. So, or I think it was the Dow Jones that did. So, I guess maybe her not picking his bank did help in the opposite way that it should, even though it wasn't the better choice for the economy.
Yeah, and I do like how Ben tells her that, but then also says, and Jonah's doing well because he's criticizing you. And she's even taking, what? Wait, what?
She's like, wait, so is that good? He's like, yeah, that's good. We want that. She's like, oh, okay. Doesn't even care. And Mike has a little backstory. He's asking everyone, which I don't know if you've ever used Groupon, but I have, and you can get some good deals on there. He has this Groupon for $50 worth of, or $50 for $100 worth of food from some Chinese place. From
a Korean barbecue.
Oh, from a Korean barbecue place.
That seems like I've never eaten at a Korean barbecue place, but that seems like an enormous amount of food.
It is. Well, Korean barbecue is it's not that expensive, but it's kind of expensive. But like, you go and you sit and they cook it in front of you. But so I don't know how he was doing it to go.
But like 100. Could you easily spend $100 at a Korean?
No. I mean, like, if you were with 5 people, sure, but not just yourself.
Yeah.
So I assume he was sharing. But so he goes to pick up his Korean barbecue to go, and they don't accept his Groupon, of course, and they charge him like $89 more, like $189 total. He's like, what? You have to use it. I would be mad too. But he sees Tom there with the lobbyist, which is who Dan asked him about that last week. And he's like, be careful.
Yeah, and which was great because at the beginning of the episode when Mike is desperately trying to get somebody to come and do this Korean barbecue with him, it's Annandale. Nobody from DC goes to Annandale. So it's a perfect place then for Tom to have this meeting because he knows nobody from DC is going to see him there.
Exactly. But I just don't get what we'll talk about that in predictions. But that's a weird thing to me. Well, obviously it's weird that Tom would be meeting with him.
I feel like Tom's got his own agenda for sure.
Well, clearly Mike wasn't supposed to know it because he runs out, doesn't get his food, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's tough because certainly if you went, I mean, Selina clearly does not think highly of anybody that works for her. But
Right.
I think in this case she would trust Mike's opinion before she trusts Tom. So like
for
whatever
sure.
Tom was going to say, like, oh, I was having this covert meeting with these guys. I think she'd still tend to believe Mike over Tom.
For sure. I think so too. Big bombshell of the night. Catherine has been trying to talk to her all night. She's had these bad relationships with these guys.
Yeah, the guy that wanted to watch her pee.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Even though Selina has kind of been the catalyst that broke those relationships up, or especially with her engagement, she like made her call it off. She finally just busts in to the Oval Office and it's like, I've been trying to tell you this for 3 days. I know why this happened, but I'm really happy now. I'm seeing a member of your staff. And I'm thinking, and I don't know what you were thinking when she started saying this, but I'm like, oh God, is it Kent? Like, or I don't know, Kent's married, but I was just thinking of who it could be.
I was only thinking Jonah because it seemed so weird that she was in New Hampshire documenting this campaign.
Jonah went through my mind as well. I was 100% not expecting Marjorie. So apparently, Catherine is now a lesbian, bisexual, who knows? But and I love how Marjorie's like, yes, we're very happy. I'm gonna immediately resign.
Yes, and I did like she says, like, I'm sure you've been able to notice the way I've been acting. They're like,
it's very obvious.
No,
Gary did not see that one coming. So Selina's like, okay, that's fine. And then I love how she's like, tells Gary, I really wish Mother were alive for this, because you know how she was.
Yeah, this would have killed her. This would have.
Oh yeah, because this would have killed her. That was hilarious. But you know, so and in the ending scene, it's Marjorie and Catherine sitting on the little couch, and they're like, "I'm just so happy. I've never smiled so much." Well, neither one of them are smiling, of course. Yeah. And Marjorie's like, "I know, I'm just giddy."
Oh.
In that tone of voice. I was not expecting that, so I thought that was hilarious.
I mean, you know, just the personality and just like the chemistry between them, just radiating off of them.
Yes, they're just so enigmatic. I mean, attention grabbers right there, 100%. Okay, let's talk about some predictions.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
I'll be curious. I mean, I feel like there's certainly material to be mined out of Catherine's relationship, so I don't think it's going to go away soon. I wonder. Yes, I wonder if he'll have a chance to kind of go the distance though.
I feel like it's gonna. I mean, we saw in the preview for next week, like there's already like polling about it or whatever. So clearly, I think it's gonna be around for a while. Because it'll give her more of a storyline too.
Yeah. That for sure. I think between that and her documentary, which is, it's got to come back.
Every time I see her filming, I'm like, oh gosh. Oh, that was another moment during the thing when Jonah's like standing and looking out the window. He's like, gotta remember, it's for the people. He's like, you're not getting that? And Catherine was filming B-roll of the fax machine at the most important moment. But then she did get whenever Dan yelled at Jonah later.
Okay. Oh, I got that. I was like,
very important.
And then I figure we're going to figure out something. I mean, what Tom's agenda is.
I mean, what do you think his agenda is?
You know, it's so often that you think like everybody's out for themselves. So, I mean, you could easily assume that Tom is doing something, making an end run for his own means. Right. Because that's how it seems like everybody on the show is. They're always trying to do something.
But what would it be for? I mean, obviously we know if there's, we have this election coming up with Congress. If there's another tie, then it automatically goes to the VP, right? Or that's not how it works. Right? How was it? Then the VP becomes the president, the House and the Senate pick, and the VP becomes the president.
Maybe so. I mean, I could see why. I guess Tom's riding that fine line where he wants to make it become a tie again, so he can have a chance to kind of move up.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the only reason I could think of that he's working with the lobbyist, because of the potential of if there's the other tie, then he could become president. Yeah. I don't know though.
Yeah. I mean, because it seemed like in this episode, I mean, at least the way he's dealing with the bank situation there, it's like the fact that he picked Charlie's bank right away, even though knowing that she was in a relationship, just because it was better for the economy.
Right. I mean, he does have to do a good job currently, obviously, but I don't know. I mean, he's lobbying, or he's working with them for a reason. So
Maybe maybe they're just Korean barbecue enthusiasts.
yeah, probably so.
Yeah,
I'm sure there are no other Korean barbecue places in DC.
Oh, well.
Only in that one in Annandale. That I guess. No, I feel the same way. I don't necessarily have a prediction about it. I think it's something about to lift himself up. But do you think Jonah's going to end up getting elected?
I think I can't see. I think it's only good if he gets elected. If he doesn't get elected, I mean, I'm sure it'd be funny in the short term, but it's like I think in the long term, there's so much more material to be mined about him having having a shot at office for a little while.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, perfect. Well, I guess that's it for this week.
Oh, my goodness.
Have a happy Memorial Day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, you can find us all at AfterBuzz TV. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at April Whisenhant.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat too. Why not Snapchat
Heck
me? Yeah,
yeah.
Snapchat me at Happy Go Jackie. Let's get on the Snapchat.
Snapchat. All right, we'll see y'all next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.